He made almost no impression on me at all during our time in the capital. I can remember almost nothing about him. Not his costume, not his training score, not his interview. Even now, as he sits there filling with some kind of plastic box, he's easily ignored in the presence of his large and domineering companions. But he must be of some value, or they wouldn't have bothered to let him live. Still, seeing him only adds to my sense of unease over why the couriers will possibly leave him as guard, why they have allowed him to live at all. All 4 tributes seem to still be recovering from the tracker-jacker attack. Even from here, I can see the large swollen lumps on their bodies. They must not have had the sense to remove the stingers, or if they did, not known about the leaves that healed them. Apparently, whatever medicines they found in the cornucopia have been ineffective. The cornucopia in its original position, but its insides have been picked clean. Most of the supplies, held in crates, burlap sacks, and plastic bins, are piled out neatly in a pyramid in what seems a questionable distance from the camp. Others are sprinkled around the perimeter of the pyramid, almost mimicking the layout of supplies around the cornucopia at the onset of the games. A canopy of netting that, aside from discouraging birds, seems to be useless shelters the pyramid itself. The whole setup is completely perplexing. The distance, the netting, and the presence of the boy from District 3. One thing's for sure. Destroying the supplies is not going to be as simple as it looks. Some other factor is at play here, and I'd better stay put until I figure out what it is. My guess is the pyramid is booby-trapped in some manner. I think of concealed pits, descending nets, a threat that when broken sends a poisonous dart into your heart. Really, the possibilities are endless. While I'm mulling over my options, I hear Kato's shoot out. He's pointing up to the woods, far beyond me, and without turning, I know that Rue must have set the first campfire. We'd made sure to gather enough green wood to make the smoke noticeable. The couriers begin to arm themselves at once. An argument breaks out. It's loud enough for me to hear that it concerns whether or not the boy from District 3 should stay or accompany them. He's coming. We need him in the woods. His job's done here anyway. No one can touch these supplies, says Kato. What about Loverboy? Says the boy from District 1. I keep telling you, forget about him. I know where I cut him. It's a miracle he hasn't bled to death yet. At any rate, he's in no shape to raid us, says Kato. So Pete is out there in the woods, wounded badly. But I'm still in the dark on what motivated him to betray the couriers. Come on, says Kato. He thrusts a spear into the hands of the boy from District 3, and they head off in the direction of the fire. The last thing I hear as they enter the woods is Kato saying, "When we find her, I kill her in my own way, and no one interferes." Somehow, I don't think he's talking about Rue. She didn't drop a nest of tracker-jackers on him. I stay put for half an hour or so, trying to figure out what to do about the supplies. The one advantage I have with the bow and the arrow is distance. I could send a flaming arrow into the pyramid easily enough. I'm a good enough shot to get it through those openings in the nest, but there's no guarantee it will catch. More likely, it's just burn itself out, and then what? I'd have achieved nothing, given them far too much information about myself. That I was here, that I have an accomplice, that I can use the bow and arrow with accuracy. There's no alternative. I'm going to have to get in closer and see if I can't discover what exactly protects the supplies. And in fact, I'm just about to reveal myself when a moment catches my eyes. Several hundred yards to my right, I see someone emerge from the woods. For a second, I think it's Rue, but then I recognize Fox's face. She's the one we couldn't remember this morning, creeping out into the open plain. When she decides to save, she runs for the pyramid with quick, small steps. Just before she reaches the circle of supplies that have been littered around the pyramid, she stops, searches the ground, and carefully places her feet on the spot. Then she begins to approach the pyramid with strange little hops, sometimes landing on one foot, teetering slightly, sometimes risking a few steps. At one point, she launches up in the air over a small barrel and lands poised on her tiptoes, but she overshot slightly, and her momentum throws her forward. I hear her give a sharp squeal as her hands hit the ground, but nothing happens. In a moment, she's regained her feet and continues until she has reached the bulk of the supplies. So I'm right about the booby trap, but it's clearly more complex than I had imagined. I was right about the girl, too. How wily is she to have discovered this path with the food and to be able to replicate it so neatly? She fills her pack, taking a few items from a variety of containers: crackers from a crate, a handful of apples from a burlap sack that hangs suspended from a rope off the side of the bin. But only a handful from each, not enough to tip off the food is missing, not enough to cause suspicion. And then she's doing her odd little dance back out of the circle and scampering into the woods again, safe and sound. I realize I'm grinding my teeth in frustration. Foxface has confirmed what I'd already guessed, but what sort of trap have they laid that requires such dexterity? Has so many trigger points? Why does she squeal so as her hands make contact with the earth? You'd have thought, and slowly it begins to dawn on me, you'd have thought the very ground was going to explode. It's mind, I whisper. That explains everything. The courier's willingness to leave their supplies, Foxface's reaction, the involvement of the boy from District 3, where they have the factories, where they make televisions and automobiles and explosives. But what did he get them? And the supplies? That's not the sort of weapon the game makers usually provide, given that they like to see the tributes draw blood personally. I slip out of the bushes and cross to one of the round metal plates that lifted the tributes into the arena. The ground around it has been dug up and patted back down. The landmines were disabled after the 60 seconds we stood on the plates, but the boy from District 3 must have managed to reactivate them. I've never seen anyone in the games do that. I bet it came as a shock even to the game makers. Well, hooray from the boy from District 3 for putting one over on them. But what am I supposed to do now? Obviously, I can't go strolling into that mess without blowing myself sky high. As for sending in a burning arrow, that's more laughable than ever. The mines are set off by pressure. It doesn't have to be a lot either. One year, a girl dropped her token, a small wooden ball, while she was at her plate, and they literally had to scrape bits of her off the ground. My arm's pretty good. I might be able to chuck some rocks in there and set off what? Maybe one mine? I could start a chain reaction. Or could it? Would the boy from District 3 have placed the mines in such a way that a single mine would not disturb the others, thereby protecting the supplies but ensuring the death of the invader? Even if I blew up one mine, I'd draw the couriers back down on me for sure. And anyway, what am I thinking? There's that net clearly strung to deflect any such attack. Besides, what I'd really need is to throw about 30 rocks in there at once, setting off a big chain reaction, demolishing the whole lot. I glance back at the woods. The smoke from Rue's second fire is wafting toward the sky, but now the couriers have probably begun to suspect some sort of trick. Time is running out. There's a solution to this. I know there is, if I can only focus hard enough. I stare at the pyramid, the bins, the crates, too heavy to topple over with an arrow. Maybe one contains cooking oil, and the burning arrow idea is reviving when I realize I could end up losing all 12 of my arrows and not get a direct hit on an oil bin, since I'd just be guessing. I'm genuinely thinking of trying to recreate Foxface's trip up to the pyramid in hopes of finding a new means of destruction when my eyes light up on the burlap bag of apples. I could sever the rope in one shot. Didn't I do as much in the training center? It's a big bag, but it still might only be good for one explosion. If only I could free the apples themselves. I know what to do. I move into range and give myself 3 arrows to get the job done. I place my feet carefully, block out the rest of the world as I take meticulous aim. The first arrow tears through the side of the bag near the top, leaving a split in the burlap. The second widens it to a gaping hole. I can see the first apple teetering when I let the third arrow go, catching the torn flap of burlap and ripping it from the bag. For a moment, everything seems frozen in time. Then the apples spill to the ground and I'm blown backward into the air.